Well, join me now for more on these stories is economist and financial expert Idika Kalu Umar. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight.
Thank you so much.
Well, so many experts actually expected that the Monetary Policy Committee was going to hold on the interest rate or at best reduce it. Exactly. But they thought otherwise. Is there something they know that the rest of us really don't understand?
I don't think so. I have a very simple take on that.
Right.
You see, in governance, you can't remove subsidy for the poor and at the same time increase taxes and interest rate. You don't do that. So if you have high interest rates and have high taxes, you can't build an economy by that means. What builds an economy is production. And the central bank knows that it has policies that it can tweak to get the economy on a productive trajectory.
What are some of these policies? I mean, and why is the CBN not exploring this?
First, you have the stock of money supply. They can manipulate that. The interest rate, that is what they are doing, and they have been doing for over 20 years.
Yeah.
You have volume of credit. You have management of the exchange rate. And you have what we call final expenditure. That is like mentioned ways and means of the central bank. You see, what the nation is suffering from is that we are not productive.
Right. And
government has policies, economic policies, that should, I mean, for people in authority, that should what interests them. One, the first is your economic development policy. That's very important. Price stability is the second policy. Then,
which is the job of the central bank.
Exactly. Yeah. Price stability. Then you have healthy balance of payments. You have creating employment opportunities. And of course, the development of the financial institutions. These are key policies of government. So whether it's the monetary authorities or the fiscal authorities, they should address these problems.
Right.
So economic growth and development, there are two things. Economic growth is that maybe a sector is contributing to national income.
Like the oil sector is
exactly.
doing.
And maybe that's all we have. But when you talk of economic development, it means the various sectors in the economy are simultaneously contributing to national income. Housing, education, transport, health, all contributing. And that is what builds standard of living of individuals. And we are not doing that. We only have maybe the oil. Manufacturing sector is comatose. Nothing is happening. The agri sector, nothing is happening there. So,
how do you think the market will react to this? I mean, come tomorrow.
There is an inverse relationship between interest rate and bond or stock market prices. So when interest rate goes up, stock market prices come down. And so before you take such sensitive decisions, you should know the implication or the ripple effect in other sectors, like the capital market. It is the capital market that really builds a nation because they can mobilize long-dated funds for economic development. So with an increase in interest rate right now, stock prices will go the other way.
Now, well, the central bank says, look, it's resolute, in bringing down inflation. It will not spare any efforts to ensure that inflation is brought down. Apparently, in the last two counts, things seem to be looking, much improved on the inflationary front.
No.
It's dipped consecutively for 2 months, July and August.
Yeah,
and they're saying it means, we're moving in the right direction.
No, I wouldn't agree with that because we've tweaked the interest rate tool for too long a time, and it's not producing the desired results.
Right.
You must use a tool, like they have their monetary, credit, foreign trade, and exchange policy manual.
Yeah.
If you look at that manual is beautiful. If you want to channel productive resources to companies, allow investment opportunities. If investment expenditure is interest elastic, that means if you reduce interest rate, and then there'll be money for productive activities, then economic entities will go for borrowing and create job opportunities which will solve employment problems, and then, of course, production of goods and services. And that is what we need.
The manufacturing sector is already saying this is not the way to go, which means borrowing.
You can't borrow at that. If you borrow at this cost, of course, this is to deposit money banks.
Right.
So the deposit money banks would have a premium on the funds they are going to lend. So if you are going to produce at 45%, when abroad, you can get money at 1% to 2%.
Yeah.
So what is the, your goods can't compete with foreign goods. And we are an import-dependent economy. We should not be. We should produce for local consumption and also reproduce for export. Now, and it's export that will give us foreign exchange.
Absolutely. Now, so many issues, really. We heard from the central bank that there's so much money. Nigeria is awash with about 4 trillion.
They printed the money.
Where is the money?
They printed the money.
They printed it.
Yes, they printed the money.
But where, in your estimation, where is all of this money circulating?
Okay, they started when they wanted to, claw back excess funds in the system. I think that was a very nice. That was a very nice step. But also along the line, they bungled it. Okay, so and when you create excessive ways and means, to the federal government, you also contributed to the inflationary trend,
which they are putting an end to now.
Yeah,
are we likely to see any positive?
Well, it's up to them. It's up to them if they will stick to that. Okay, 5% of your previous revenue. If they can keep to that, that would be nice. That will bring sanity to that area, because the fiscal authorities also have to do their own bit. Okay.
Okay, now let's bring it down to the ordinary Nigerian and how all of this impacts on the on the man on the streets. 70,000 naira minimum wage approved. The president has just said, look, it has to be, go back to July 29 in terms of implementation.
Yeah.
With this that's going on with the MPC now, how is that likely to play out on the value of, this minimum wage that's not even been paid yet?
When you look at the functions of money, see, money is a medium of exchange.
Right.
Money is a store of value. Note that. Yeah. It's a store of value.
Right.
Money is a unit of account. Money is used for deferred payments. And of course, it's a measure of value. That is, with money, you can quantify the monetary value to goods and services.
Yes.
Now, as a store of value, it means that it must hold some tangible value over a reasonable time. But because of the inflationary trend,
it keeps like a yo-yo.
So there's what we call money illusion. Maybe labor unions, they will agitate for increase in salary.
And it goes up.
Yes. So when they get that, something happens. The market woman says, oh, they have increased the salary of workers. The price of her commodities, the goods she sells, the foodstuff goes up. The landlord will raise rent. The transport man will increase transport. So if you have enjoyed a 20% increase, you now suffer an inflationary level of 35 to 40%, So you've lost out at the end of the day. But I'm not going to blame the man on the street. I'm not going to blame the citizens. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
So it's because we are not really handling the necessary tool that will bring productivity to the country. Which is channeling monies to entities to create investment opportunities.
Right.
That one, because when you have that money, you will look for factors of production. You look for land. You look for labor. And by the time you are satisfying labor, you are recruiting people, you are solving government's unemployment problems. Okay.
Well, in the meantime, the latest figures from the National Bureau of Statistics, unemployment has gone up to 5.3%.
It keeps rising. It keeps rising because we don't have productive activities, and that is why I said that should be the focus.
Right.
When you increase taxes and you also reducing the purchasing power in the hands of the citizens in the first place.
So what needs to happen now? Because so much has been said about the need for a convergence of the monetary and fiscal side of things. That's not happening.
Yes.
It's really not happening. So with the CBN now saying, look, we're going to stick to the orthodox method of running things, which is the mandate of the central bank.
Yes.
Move away from the unorthodox, style of, trying to manage or stabilize the economy.
Yeah.
What options are left for the Central Bank of Nigeria, for the monetary, authorities now?
Something happens. I may take you down to traditional Keynesian analysis. You see, they have a theory.
Please let it be simple.
Yes,
so that we understand.
It's very, very simple. That if there is money supply, interest rate will fall. Okay, and so when interest rate falls, it provides opportunity for people to borrow money and start the enterprises.
Right.
Okay, and you may have a spike in prices in the short term. That you might have an inflationary situation in the short term because of that money supply. But in the long term, you will find out that prices will eventually come down, and there will be a contribution to national income because of mass production of goods and services. Yeah. If I take you back to what happened during the financial meltdown, every country was down. Of
2008?
Yeah, 2009, 2010, 11.
Yeah.
You know what? The Reserve Bank of America, started buying bonds from corporations. Corporations issued bonds and they bought and then made money available to them in that depressed state. And with that money, they rejig the operations.
Is that template what we should be considering now?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And so when they swung back into productivity, they paid back the Reserve Bank. And so that's the kind of thing we need.
But achieving this productive economy, it's a medium to long-term goal.
It all depends.
Is it something that can be achieved in the short term?
I've told you that once you start it, there may be a price spike. In the short term, right? But that's going to be true because you are doing the right thing. Eventually, there will be mass production of goods and services, and then prices will definitely come down, and so the economy will pick up. So you produce, people would have the goods for consumption locally. We don't have sufficient food. We don't have sufficient, goods, manufactured goods. You see what we call structural defects. We have structural deficiency. If there is increase in price of goods and services, it means there is demand.
Right.
Okay. Now, if there is demand, why is there no production?
Big question. Why?
Yeah, why? Because there is demand. So there should be production. And so that's a structural defect.
So how can we fix this structural defect before we end this?
Yeah, I'm still talking about reflecting the economy by the Central Bank of Nigeria making money available to deposit money banks. And this money will not be for financial transactions. Banks buying securities and then making money, but sending it really to the productive sectors of the economy, to agri, to manufacturing, to real estate, and you see the return.
There'll be a boom.
And yes, the boom that will come from it. People will get employed. People will create businesses.
And the more people that are employed,
the more
people that have jobs, the more taxes
exactly
they can pay. That's revenue for the government.
For America, when you want to set up a company, they don't tax the company. They don't. They give you everything that will make you stand. Now, when you start posting profits, that's when the taxes come in. But here, if you want to set up a business, just try to set up a business. Most of those people in civil service, they don't know what it takes to set up a business. You go through quite a lot to set up a business. And it should not be so. It
shouldn't be so.
Because when you set up those small businesses, you're employing people.
Yeah.
And as you're employing people, you are creating value. People earn income. And the value of your currency increases because you are productive.
And the SMEs make up a huge chunk of the economy.
Exactly.
About 80% in some cases.
Take agriculture, for instance, now.
We'll have to leave it there.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Idika Kalu Umar, MD, CEO, GABS Financial Services. Thank you very much for joining us on Newsnight.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot.